Today, it's the Russ Show, because I'm gonna let Russ run the show today because this is a topic near and dear to his heart, right? So we're going to talk about social media, privacy, and security, and the trade-off between those two things, because there's a lot of stuff going on in the world today about how this is going to impact you as you go forward. It is a huge impact on security, how you secure a system, and so I'm going to let Russ be the leader, which could be a sign of my impending doom. There were Post-it notes all over my office furniture this morning, all those kind of usual signs that maybe things are not going so well. But stick around, and we'll talk about security, privacy, and social media.
This is a Security Weekly production.
Welcome to Secure Digital Life. If your users are going to keep putting risky stuff on your machine, you're screwed. So, Top can help us understand the complexity of blockchain.
I was reading through the show notes, man. Oof.
In binary, it would be 001. Who cares? But it's probably not significant anyway. Be like you're looking out through the HAL dot,
oh,
hey Dave, Dave.
It's like Sims, but with
It would be like Sims
instead of AI. It's only.
Accredited by Microsoft, Cisco, NetApp, IDLE, Oracle, and EC Council, QuickStart delivers high-impact, low-cost IT training through its cognitive learning platform in multiple domains. With QuickStart, you get an ever-growing catalog of courses, self-paced courses offered through a monthly subscription, virtual classrooms offered through an annual subscription, peer-to-peer learning, mentoring, official courses, certified instructors, hands-on labs, and more. For more information, visit www.quickstart.com. Use coupon code PAUL20 to get 20% off on all cybersecurity courses. QuickStart, creating world-class technologists. Considering a career in IT but not sure where to start? Start for free with IT Pro TV. Access more than 65 hours of IT training for free, no credit card required, with a free membership. When you're ready for more, explore the full IT Pro TV library, including training for CompTIA, Cisco, Microsoft, Apple, and more. Learn IT, pass your certs, and get a great job. Start your free IT Pro TV membership today. Visit www.securedigitallife.com/IT Pro TV.
Hello, everyone. We just released our 2019 Security Weekly 25 Index Survey. Please go to securityweekly.com and click on the security link to help us understand who's evaluating, using, or formerly used any of the Security Weekly 25 companies. The results will be summarized and presented back to all responders in a private webcast. And register for our upcoming webcast by going to securityweekly.com/webcasts. If you have missed any of our previously recorded webcasts, you can find them at securityweekly.com/on-demand.
On demand.
So check this out, Doug. I feel like somebody hit the mirror button and we're in an alternate universe.
I need a goatee though, so I can be like, I want to be Mr. Sulu. Well, was he straight in the alternate universe?
I don't. Oh, wait, that's right. I remember that. I don't know. That's where it all began. In every single Star Trek series after that.
Yeah, and then that's my favorite Star Trek episode ever. Is the evil Spock and the evil Federation and all this stuff. I don't know whether the Klingons nice guys in that. I haven't watched that so long.
It's been a while.
Yeah, that's one. That literally is one of my favorite. That one and The City on the Edge of Forever are my two favorite Star Trek episodes. I think.
I binge watched them over the last 2 years.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I caught up.
Over 2 years is not binge watching. If you'd said I would binge watch them over the weekend,
all of them, every single Star
Trek. There's just 3 seasons.
No, series.
Oh wow!
Yeah, from Discovery, Next Generation, even Enterprise.
Voyager.
I was a big Scott Bakula.
Deep Space Nine.
I didn't. Yeah, Enterprise is good too.
I've never even watched that.
Yeah, and now Discovery, but I'm too cheap.
I like Deep Space Nine. That was one of my favorites.
Yeah, DS9 was good too.
Yeah, I like that one.
So we're doing things a little bit differently today, and Doug has let me run the show, so to speak. And so we're going to talk a little bit about privacy, security, ethics, and more philosophical conversation today, as opposed to more technical. So when Doug and I were in Moscow a few weeks ago, the tragedy in New Zealand had happened, where the guy walked in. Or drove into a mosque and started opening fire, and it was an awful, awful thing. And so we wanted to talk today and unpack that about what that means for our privacy on social media, our privacy on the internet. So, you know, a long time ago, the news had a guy named Walter Cronkite. I remember him, or at least in
and that's the news.
Yeah, and that's the news, right? And everyone trusted him. If he said this is bad, well, it was probably bad. And today, if there was an event like, say, the shooting in New Zealand, there is still the news component, but now there are no controls. In 1968, the news decided how much of something you got to see, and maybe you shouldn't see it or didn't see it. Today, that sort of control is slipping away with freedom to watch the news or consume the news and whatever technology or whatever medium you see fit. So think about it. In the New Zealand shooting recently, the suspect put a video up of the massacre and tried to live stream it for about 17 minutes before Facebook shut it down. They weren't able to do anything for a while because they only had a suicide button, which was a reporting feature to flag the video for their admins or their moderators to look at, which, you know, but not, there was no murder or mass genocide button, which, you know,
pretty soon they have lots of buttons.
Yeah, pretty soon they'll have lots of buttons, you know, drug overdose or whatever. There was another one a little back, maybe about 2 or 3 years ago, where a YouTuber wanted to inject himself with some sort of he contracted HIV, unfortunately, and what he wanted, he and his computer science friends got together and they manufactured some sort of drug in their basement. And so
that's always a good idea.
Yeah, he did a live stream of himself injecting the drug, and of course everybody went crazy about it. Because they're like, well, you know, there's no FDA regulation, and what does that mean? Did the kid just inject something in him that's going to kill him or whatever? But, you know, he live streamed it, and that was you know, sort of the beginning of where we're at now. So it seems that we have arrived at the point where we are streaming murders, suicides, you know, experimental drug trials, and other horrific acts. So how long will it be before they need a torture button? Yeah, right. Or they probably already do. So,
or a thumbs up, thumbs down.
Thumbs up, thumbs down. Yeah, do it, don't do it.
Torture, don't torture.
Well, The Running Man, wasn't that a component to The Running Man where Arnold Schwarzenegger was the prisoner? And
I know the movie, but yeah.
But I mean, it's pretty crazy where we're at right now, and so we're here to talk today about, you know, good, bad, you know, indifferent. What are some of the things we need to talk about? We're susceptible to what some people call fake news or trolling, and this has become a more commonplace term, fake news, within the recent, let's say, the last 2-3 years. And so,
but it's been going on a long time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, fake news has been going on forever. I mean, there's always been what they used to call yellow journalism. William Hearst was you know, big on how do you sell newspapers. Today Rupert Murdoch is, you know, he created Fox News really with the purpose of promoting an agenda, and that was really different than say Walter Cronkite, who was this guy who theoretically anyway told you the truth. And people really did trust this guy. I mean, everybody sat down and watched him, and if he said, you know, now the war is, one of his famous lines was, and now it would appear the war is unwinnable. And that changed the way people perceived the Vietnam War, because people like Walter Cronkite said it. Today, you listen to whatever you listen to, and you watch whatever you watch, and you read whatever you read, and they like to tell you what you want to hear. I mean, I don't care which side. It doesn't have to be Fox News. It could be MSNBC, but they tell you things from your perspective, the way you want to hear them, and often reinforce those viewpoints, and that becomes kind of a problem. And then throw Facebook into the mist, into the mist might be good. It's like, okay, but I mean, Facebook, Instagram, all these things are all basically sitting there creating not only these little echo chambers that people live in, but they also create like weird places for people to promote fake news. And it's really hard to discern, is it real? Yeah. Is it live? Is it Memorex? Yeah, it's a dated references. It's dated reference day here on SDL. But But I mean, really, it's scary. And anymore, when I read something or somebody posts something that's almost news-like on Facebook, I immediately have to go, is that true?
Right.
Because it may not be.
Right.
And I see it all the time. Like,
yeah, go ahead. No, sorry.
I saw one yesterday where they were this person that posts a lot of political stuff was posting this picture of Ava Braun, and Ava Braun was talking about something about immigration, and then they said, and Melania Trump stole this speech. I still don't know if that was true or not. I mean, I don't know if Ava Braun really did that, or if Ava Braun even had a Facebook account. But if you don't know who Ava Braun is, Google it. But I mean, immediately I was like, is that real?
Right.
I mean, did that really happen? How do I prove it? And it's like, and then you see these circular logic things where it's like, I say it here, then Russ cites it in class, and then I say, well, a popular professor at a well-known university locally said this, and pretty soon I can prove my own, falsehoods very easily, and we see that all the time in politics now.
Yeah, and even the word media, I mean, you can take it out, and you've got media, mediate, mediation, remediation, and up until the realm of social media and the instantaneity. Oh, how about that? Instantaneity of communication and digestion, news digestion. There was always sort of that reliance on mediation, right, for experts or potential experts to be able to edit or, distill out the things that were maybe not as fact-checked as they should have been, right?
Oh, yeah.
And nowadays, with things like Facebook and instantaneous communication, that's no longer a thing, and it's gotten so bad that even Facebook has been called to task, and they've started putting certain nomers, right, on nomenclature on their posts, saying news, or not news. I don't think they use fake news, but hasn't been fact checked or whatever.
Really stupid.
Yeah,
even stupider than the one before.
This, this is silly. It's just, and then it comes down to what on the part of the consumers. I tell my students, as a consumer, you are all responsible for doing a little bit of fact checking and before you start disseminating BS or hyperbole, as they call it in academia. So,
but I keep going back to Nosedive too, and in a good way. I mean, Nosedive from Black Mirror, we always talk about that a lot. But I mean, having a score, I can really see that coming about because I don't know how you're going to regulate this stuff. Okay, we can all talk about regulating Facebook. Good luck with that, because you say, oh, you can't inject yourself online. I'll go to another site where they will let me inject myself online. And they say, oh, you can't do that in the United States. I'll go to a place where they don't care if I do that, and I'll film it and I'll put it online. And good luck with that. When we were in Moscow, right as we were leaving, Vladimir Putin passed a law that said you cannot criticize the state, that any criticism of the government could result in you getting arrested. And okay, good luck with that. But what is he going to do when people are criticizing the government outside of his control?
Right.
And send in hit squad? Well, they've done that. Hey, please, I love the man. I know. I'm just getting on record. I welcome our new Russian overlords. But going outside the control zones of those people, I mean, a lot of our governments haven't really figured out that sovereignty is dying, that this traditional physical sovereignty is fading away. And that means I can go to another place, I can do that, I can put that information up. China's still fighting it real hard. China has their own internet, they censor everything. A lot of other countries are doing that. The Sultan of Brunei just, announced that everything is shut down and all this kind of craziness. I don't know where that stops. It's scary. So if they start scoring you and they say, well, he's an idiot, I mean, they could just score you on the, how good are your posting scale? Like, how many times did you post something really stupid? And, if you get stupid enough, you just get censored. I'd love to see that. I would like to say, oh, this guy's a crank. I don't want to read his post. I want to filter him.
Yeah, and you're referencing the thing that we've talked about before, the social media score in China, where people have, they're allowed or denied loans based on social media score or
I mean, that's kind of taking it on this other extreme direction. But I could see that with, policy. I mean, if I start saying things on Facebook that are wrong all the time, and I repost really stupid troll memes and things like that, and my score gets down to a certain point where I'm sort of in the red zone, maybe Facebook does start filtering me out. And I mean, that's a different approach to Nosedive, but it's kind of the same thing in a different way.
Yeah, and the thing that kind of set me off on this particular topic when I started writing it, and this was a couple of weeks ago, and we had some other awesome shows to do before we could do this, but it was when Gizmodo had posted an article about the vice president of product management on Facebook has title changed to the vice president of integrity, and then almost overnight, almost overnight after they started becoming attacked by people about the live stream of the New Zealand shooter, they were like, all right, well, let's hold back. So we don't really know why that happened or whatever, but that was something that happened. I think
that's one of those HR things where somebody's going, oh, we need a vice president of integrity. No, we've got to maintain integrity.
Yep.
But do you actually do it? And even if you want to, how do you do it? I mean, I can't imagine the resources that are going to get involved at Facebook in trying to police all this stuff. I don't really know how you can decide what is legit. Like this guy in New Zealand posted this 70-page manifesto where he's got all this craziness. This is his notes, and a lot of people wanted to read it, right? I mean, it's like, ooh, I want to read this crazy person's, notebooks. Do you censor it? I mean, do you say, well, nobody's allowed to read that because it may promote more of these crazies, or do you say, well, it's going to get out there somehow?
But I think back to history, and like any time that censorship has taken place because of a worldwide problem, like for instance Hitler, burning all the books in Nazi Germany, and then the book ban, through Western society, where things like Mein Kampf and other manifestos were burned, or not burned, but prohibited from checking out. And if you did, you got your name on a list, perhaps, or something like that.
Fahrenheit 451.
Yeah, that was another one.
Really old story. Ray Bradbury wrote.
Manifesto.
But they made a TV show out of Fahrenheit. I haven't seen it, but it was an old book that Ray Bradbury wrote about people burning books and the government managing what you got to see. And they do that. I mean, they do that a lot of places. They do track, who went down there and checked out a copy of whatever. Yeah. They probably did it here, to be honest.
In high school, there was a book that was popular among the people who I went to high school with, and it was called the Anarchist Cookbook.
Yeah.
How do you
make pipe bombs and pressure cooker bombs and all this fun stuff that people used to do before it became like a big problem.
Yeah. But, I mean, those were controlled sort of resources. They had ISBN numbers. You had to buy them from a retailer. Those ISBN numbers could be tracked. And
you had to go to the library and go, can I go in the restricted section?
Yeah.
Like, no, it's only for teachers.
Yeah. The dark web didn't exist. Of course, there was always underground. But, I mean, when this kid bought this book and he brought it into the school I was going to, it probably set up a red flag for him,
My school banned all kinds of books. You couldn't read Kurt Vonnegut.
Kurt Vonnegut, and a lot of the beat poets too. I mean,
they didn't know what beat poets were back then.
Right. Well, you are significantly older than me, right?
Yeah, right.
So let's talk a bit about the practical and ethical pieces of this kind of thing. So in 2016, we averaged about 500 million tweets a day. That's about 350,000 tweets per minute. So who's monitoring this? And furthermore, like, you would need a significant amount of resources to monitor this, and that's just where does that lie? How do we unpack that? How do we deal with that? What kind of training should the people provide to those people who are doing the monitoring? Is it okay to say the N word? How about the C word, or the B word, or the D word, or the A word, or the F word?
I want to say all of them. Yeah,
George Carlin.
I'm going to say all of them right now.
Yeah, George.
Stay
Carlin.
tuned.
Yeah. Beep 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 beep. George Carlin, 7 words you can't say on television would suffice. I liked. I wasn't a big Howard Stern fan. But when I watched the movie representation of Private Parts, he had things you can't say on the radio, and it was Carlin's 7 big words. And just hearing them out loud was kind of like, oh, I can't believe you're saying this on TV.
Well, unless you watch HBO, in which case you've seen them on TV quite a bit.
That's true.
Or Netflix.
Yeah, but also as times have changed too. There were things that were socially acceptable on television, right? In the 70s, 80s. Think of Leave It to Beaver or the Andy Griffith Show, like the wholesome, quote unquote, right? Wholesome kind of entertainment.
This depends on how dark you were when you were watching those things. Like, what's really going on with Gomer and Goober?
But then you start seeing things change in the 80s, where you had less sort of wholesome entertainment. Like, I think of Married with Children and the sexualization of a teenage girl and boy. I mean, if that's the other guy. And then you started seeing other things happen and more sort of words and content that were allowed, and just our society was changing.
I mean, look how many times Lenny Bruce got arrested for saying the F word. I mean, Lenny Bruce said the F word. He said it on purpose just to get arrested. I mean, and he got arrested every time he said it. I mean, even in New York City, he was getting arrested for saying stuff like that or for obscenity. And you saw it all the time. And so that has changed pretty significantly.
It was an interesting class I took in college on this idea between pornography and obscenity and what was allowed content to consume. Pornography being obviously adult material that whether it was sexualized or not, that was up to the consumer. And then there was this idea of obscenity, where obscene gestures like people beating up, and again, this is from the 1950s and 60s, people beating up women, that was not allowed. You know, that was considered obscene and should be outlawed by, you know, these mediators. And so on. So that was kind of interesting, where it was okay to have the ooh and the ah, you know, but it wasn't okay to, you know, what they say, you know, smack somebody upside the head of a female gender. And
yeah, I don't know what you've been watching, Russ.
So what about pictures?
I'm going to check out your search history.
So what about pictures? Nudity, full frontal, right? Full back,
full backle,
full backle, full jackal.
If you got frontal, you got backle.
Yeah, you got backle, and you know, now you're starting to see a lot more movies come out, mostly under independent labels, where they're showing full frontal male.
Yeah,
you know.
That's the truth, because I watched Skin Deep, and which is a really good movie. If you haven't seen it, it was like an indie film from Scotland, but it was like, I was like, wow, there's a lot of guys in this.
Yeah. We were watching Wendy and I were watching an episode of House of Cards last night, which, you know, we're just trying to catch up on that, and it shows you full frontal of one of the guys.
Yeah, and they didn't used to do that.
No, they didn't used to do that.
That was completely verboten.
Yeah, so very interesting. Well, what are the rules? I bet we couldn't agree on that in a million years, right? I mean,
we probably could, but I don't think as a society we can. I mean, people have been fighting over this stuff, and it's a moving target. I mean, it's always changing, and what people accept and what people. I mean, think about it like this way: how do you say his Buttigieg? Is that the guy, the mayor of South Bend?
Oh, I don't know.
He's a presidential candidate.
Yeah.
And he's gay. I mean, even just 10, 15 years ago, that would have been like, you know. I don't know. I mean, you could come out and say I eat babies, and you would have had about the same amount of chance of getting elected president. I mean, I think the only thing his problem's going to be is nobody can say your last name. It's going to be really hard to vote for. Starts with forget it.
B. Starts with B.
I'm just going to vote for this guy named Aaron over here, who's first on the list.
So in the ethics dimension, how about things that machine learning is not good at doing? Like if we were going to have these algorithms or these artificially intelligent or machine intelligent programs doing to sort of mediate this content, like what about those things? How a robot or an algorithm is not necessarily good at reason. It's good at logic. Right, it's good at operating inside the realm of
that's a really good place to reiterate the difference in ML and AI, because machine learning is not good at if you take a concept, for instance. So let's say I write a manifesto about communism, and somebody has decided that that's obscene. ML is not going to be very good at saying that's obscene or not obscene, and no matter how many constraints you put around it, it all depends on how I write it. But on the other hand, you know, if I have a nude photo, ML's really good at that kind of stuff. So Facebook can have an machine learning algorithm that sits there and finds how much flesh tone is in a certain picture and can identify that as a nude photo. That's how they do a lot of that stuff. But you get into these conceptual ideas and ideologies, and of course, you know, who's to say what's obscene then? I mean, it gets very complicated. So it's tough for ML. But AI might be able to actually look at that stuff. Not that I want that to happen, but AI may well start being used to look at concepts and say, Doug is an idiot, and he shouldn't be talking about this in public, and decide to censor that content. And remember, these are private organizations. So Facebook is a private company. They can do whatever they want. So a lot of times people say, how can they censor? Isn't that illegal? And it's like, it's a private company. They can do anything they want. There's stuff that's not socially acceptable for them to do, but they could still actually do it. I mean, you know, it's definitely out there.
But concept topics or like in rhetoric, like irony, right?
Yeah.
Insinuation, innuendo, things that make you know, conversation and human discourse, right? Rich and enriching, right? Those are the things that I think ML can't right now they can't handle. I mean, imagine having an ML algorithm, going through Chaucer's Canterbury Tales, and then
and marking all the dirty parts.
Yeah, marking all the dirty parts. I mean, that text was created for that exact reason. By Geoffrey Chaucer. So, Russia just passed a law that allows you to be imprisoned for criticizing the government, as we were alluding to earlier. What about recruiting people to join a new cult? You know what I mean?
I mean, what if I put up a site on Facebook that's called, Russ is a golden god, and, it's all about worshiping Russ. And I mean, is that obscene? Or is it okay? Should we ban it? Should we block it? Should we not allow teenagers to look at it? Is it the new Slender Man? I don't know.
The flat earthers, the anti-vaxxers.
Oh, let's not even start on those idiots. Look, folks, the Earth is not flat. I've been all the way around it. It's round. Okay, I don't want to hear it. Don't even start. And then anti-vaxxers, don't get me started. It's like, come on.
Maybe we should just build an AI and call it Walter.
Well, the AI will decide what's best for all of us, right?
Yeah,
and it will just say, like, you people don't even know what you're doing. You can't possibly parse information at the level I can.
Yeah.
Therefore, I have decided that, no, you can't do that.
It's so interesting. One of our colleagues at the university approached me maybe about 6 weeks ago. He's designing a new course on AI and ethics, and it's in the philosophy department. And it's kind of a cool idea. And he's like, can you come up with any examples in modern or even older science fiction, since Mary Shelley, where AI was presented as a saving, as a saving thing, as opposed to dystopic. And I thought to myself, it was really hard for me to think about any of that. It's always presented as a dystopian future.
But it's not. I mean, look at Logan's Run. I'll give you one.
Okay.
So Logan's Run is it's sort of dystopian. It's one of the original dystopian movies and all this kind of stuff from the 70s, but the society had screwed things up so bad. So everybody was dying. The earth was polluted. They'd had all these wars. They turned it over to an AI. And the AI was actually doing a pretty good job of it until the humans got involved again and screwed it all up again. I mean, the AI was actually not malevolent in Logan's Run. Yeah, you had to die when you were 31 years old. But that was because the AI had optimized society. And everything was cool. Everybody was happy. They got to do whatever they wanted. They had all these cool virtual reality sex programs. It was awesome. Yeah. Until the humans got involved again and were like, we're not satisfied with our really peaceful life because we have to die at 31. So now we're going to go. And nobody ever reads into Logan's Run. What I was reading into was like, okay, you just wrecked the city. Now you have no food, and you're living out on like the open plains. I was like, the next part of Logan's Run should have been all of them dead because they weren't going to last 6 months. They're all like running around out there in the woods going, what do we eat now? Cats? Peter Ustinov had all those cats in the old Capitol building, and, I'm like, those cats aren't going to last long, I got to tell you, because the city's not working anymore. The whole place blew up.
Eat each other.
But that AI wasn't malevolent. It was just optimizing things and doing something that made complete and total sense.
Right. So if we look at Facebook and social media enterprise, the Prime Minister of New Zealand is proposing legislation that will require large entities, large social media entities, to be held responsible for content that's on their service. Right. Historically, it's been an argument where they're the provider. They're not the content generator, so why should they be held? So it's this big battle back and forth.
And who decides? Yeah. I mean, how do you hold Facebook responsible as a government? We're going to ban Facebook in New Zealand. Oh yeah, then everybody's just going to jump on their VPN and look at Facebook anywhere, or whatever. You put whatever popular thing you can put Instagram or anything else on there, Pornhub for all I know, because it doesn't work. Right. I mean, that's the problem I have with it. We say these things and we're going to prevent this, but it sounds really good. I always go back to the Patriot Act. We passed this really not so great piece of legislation after 9/11 because we were afraid. And I get it. I mean, I get that New Zealand doesn't want this to happen again, but, it's like blocking content. How do you decide, and I mean, how far? Then it's Minority Report. I mean, that's the next step down that road is, okay, we're reading what you wrote, and we've decided in advance that it's offensive or it's objectionable or it's promoting something, and all of a sudden it gets worse and worse and worse. And I have a lot of concerns about that from a we've always seen that letting people say what they want, free speech, has always been a pretty good idea. And the minute you start squashing that, yeah, there's bad things. It's like, I give money to the ACLU, and I get upset when they support the Ku Klux Klan. But they do, because their position is the Constitution of the United States provides them with a right to their ridiculous ideas. So it's tough, but I don't know how you do it. I don't know how New Zealand's going to decide how does Facebook decide this? It's like we said, which word can you say?
Yeah,
you can't say the N word. Oh, you're banned.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't like them saying the C word. Like, oh, well, okay, you're banned too. And pretty soon it's like, well, the word "and" it really bugs me. Or how about the word "moist"? I do not like the word "moist," and a lot of other people don't as well. I think we need to stop that because it could set somebody off.
Yeah, it could be a trigger for
it's a trigger word
behavior.
That's part of the cult too. You can't say the word "moist." You have to worship Russ. We'll pick a day of the week.
Or Doug.
Yeah,
I prefer they worship you.
No. No, I'm going to be the bad guy in that scenario. I'm going to be the one that was cast out from heaven and gets to run around doing all the good stuff.
Angel Michael or whatever.
Yeah.
So if social media is going to be given that amount of power to censor or to mediate, any content, do you think that they'll abuse it? I mean, they could. The potentiality for that.
I don't think they'll abuse it as much as they just won't know how to do it either. I mean, it's like, okay, who's going to decide? Is Zuckerberg going to form a committee and they're going to sit down and go, oh, the committee for the preservation of the purity of, I'm like, the Sicherheitsdienst. I don't know. The committee for that means Committee for Public Safety in German. I don't know. I don't see how they do that. I mean, there's 500 million tweets a day or something? Okay, who's going to read all the tweets? Some AI? So the AI is going to say, oh, you can't tweet that. You're an idiot. Or you can't tweet that. It's offensive to people who do like the word moist. I don't know.
But look at Twitter's already started doing that by banning people's Twitter accounts.
Yeah.
Right? So they're essentially policing or taking ownership over that.
That doesn't work. Yeah. They ban you, then you go create another account and start over again, and then now you're even worse. Now you're a fake guy, and you're over there, and it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And what do you ban? I still always come back to, what do you ban? Do you ban pornography? I mean, that's been a long-standing thing with different cultures, and some cultures say, who cares? The sky's the limit. Other people are like, oh, we have to protect the children. I don't know. I mean, and what's pornography? What's obscenity? And it goes on and on. Can you watch a rape video? I mean, what if it's a rape video where it was just staged? It was like everybody. I mean, I'm not advocating that kind of stuff, but I'm just saying that, I mean, I don't know how you make those determinations. I don't know how Facebook makes those determinations. What if you threaten somebody? What if you jump on Facebook and I say, hey, Russ, I'm going to come over there with a ball bat. I'm sick of you trying to take over my show. It's not going to happen anymore.
You can have it back, I promise.
Yeah, this is over, baby.
I think the bottom line is we have to learn how to police ourselves.
Right? I think so too.
We have don't watch murder videos, okay? And if you do, don't repeat. Right? Don't look at it as a how-to guide. Don't watch rape videos. If no one looks at them, they go away pretty fast. And there's no followers, no watchers. But what should we do? Talk about freedom versus security. Right?
Well, I mean, freedom's always about, you have to put up with the bad and the good. I mean, if you say you got the right to free speech, you got the right to free speech. And if you don't agree with my speech, tough. But, I mean, if you want to censor it all and the government, you're going to trust the government to decide what you get to say or who gets to say it or what's on this show, then that gets really, really scary really, really fast.
And how many buttons will Facebook eventually need before?
Well, yeah, it'll be like page 35 of 40 of the buttons you can push to.
And the crime has already been committed because they can't filter through all the buttons to find the right one, right? Oh, should I hit murder? Should I hit, genocide? Should I hit suicide?
Then we'll start a cult about too many buttons.
Yeah, it's the button call.
I'm offended by so many buttons.
Welcome to the Monkey House, right?
Ooh, one of my favorites.
Yeah. Harrison Bergeron.
Well, that's the name of the story, is Harrison Bergeron.
Yeah, it was a story where everyone was required by law to be equal. This was enforced evenly by harshly. So I don't know what to do here.
Oh, Harrison Bergeron was a Kurt Vonnegut short story in a collection called Welcome to Monkey House. if you were stronger than the weakest person, they Kurt Vonnegut, if you're not familiar with him, he always sort of pushed the ridiculous to make a point.
Yeah.
You know, if you were stronger, if Russ is stronger than me, they hang weights off of him so that he has to be held down to my level. If people were smarter, they put these like noise generating things in your ears and all this kind of stuff. And you know, I mean, I don't know where this stops. I mean, I don't know how we make everybody happy all the time. It's really a challenge. I mean, something's going to offend everybody. I mean, I've learned that. You know, it's like no matter what I say, if somebody's like, "Oh, you're outrageous. You should be fired," and I'm like, "What did I say?" And they're like, "You know, what didn't you say?" And I was like, "Oh my God."
Well, much like financial education, you know, should happen early on in life, and that actually is a push now in middle high school. Is young adults are being taught the way to invest money, not to overspend on your credit card, what interest is, and so on and so forth. There should be something along the lines of consumer education or ethics or
civics
what
is what that's called.
Well, that's what it was called. Yes, but they took that out of the
they
curriculum.
took it out. That was Robert Heinlein's big thing. Was about you had to teach people how to behave and how to be patriotic and all this kind of stuff. He was Heinlein had some interesting ideas. Let me tell you, but I mean that was one of his big deals was that we don't teach people civics. We don't teach them how to behave properly and all these kind of things. And although his idea of proper behavior probably didn't match up with mine, he was real into polygamy and things like that. And I don't think he in his personal life, but he was really always advocating that kind of thing. Very interesting fellow.
Yeah. So I think the bottom line is it falls on us to learn how to be better.
Don't watch it. Turn it off.
Turn it off. You know, there are things that you can research out there to find. You know, not to say that we should all be following this verbatim law saying this is banned and this isn't. But, I mean, you know, ethically speaking, we all know kind of what's right or wrong. That's what makes us human.
Maybe.
I hope so.
But it's a sliding scale.
Yeah, it's a sliding scale.
I mean, there's things that we say today are horrendous that were 50 years ago. People kind of went, it's like no big deal. And it's very complicated for all the IT people who are trying to manage it because they're turning this back over to the technology and saying, I'm going to turn this AI loose to decide what you can say and what's offensive and not. And if we don't have any clear objective guidelines to it, it's really, really challenging. Yeah. I don't know what to do.
Nope.
I give up. I'm just
we're out.
I'm going to go back to being a programmer, so I'll write some AIs and turn them loose, and maybe mine will take over because I'm going to definitely build some stuff in there.
Yeah.
Doug is always right.
Yep. Oh, would you teach kids early? Yeah, it looks like we have a question. Yeah, I mean, I think we should teach kids early enough where they're on and consuming. I have a 3-year-old nephew who's already consuming YouTube, and he goes and clicks on the little cartoon things that come up, and now it went from Peppa Pig. Right, and then YouTube comes up with all the suggestions to watch after that. It went from Peppa Pig
to Saw.
Yeah, not quite Saw, but to Nerf guns, and then Nerf guns to this ridiculously manufactured video of a baby sitting on a counter with a Nerf blaster, and they overlaid actual real bullets. So it starts shooting up the house, and now the nephew wants one of those real guns, and it's like So yeah, I think we should start definitely early. Maybe I'm not.
But I'll turn around. There's people that are saying you should give children that age guns and start teaching them to shoot. I mean, I've seen videos of that too.
Hell, they want armed teachers. You might as well set an example.
Oh yeah,
right?
Armed teachers. That's a good idea. Let me tell you, we're teachers. You really want us armed?
And they all come in looking like Commando.
Okay. I'm gonna do that. Yeah, we're gonna come in. I'm coming like Rocky or what's his name oh my God.
Commando.
Rambo.
Oh, Rambo.
Johnny Rambo.
Yeah. Or Arnold Schwarzenegger in that movie.
Yeah. Can you see all your think about all the teachers you've had and imagine all of them like wearing like guns, like
it's the old Wild West.
Poor old Mrs. Andre going, "Make my day, punk."
I heard you were watching some inappropriate content last night. Yeah. Meet you out in the quad at noon.
That's right.
So. Anyway, we're done talking about ethics, privacy, security. Hopefully,
we solved it all.
Yeah, we solved none. So join us next week.
When we'll be censored.
We'll be censored. See you later. Thanks, Doug.